What is the best airsoft gun for beginners? I get asked this question in pretty much every single video I make, and in every live stream in so many different variations, to the point that moderators have to copy and paste my answer, but yet I still get asked the same question. So for everyone else that wants to ask me this question, even though I answer it over and over again, I'd like to make it clear. There is no best airsoft gun.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
However, there are a couple brands that I definitely recommend for beginners and intermediates, and people who are returning to the game but need to get a refresher. And I'm about to talk to you about a brand that I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time. They're already well respected in Europe, but now I've got 5 of them. So I'm going to briefly tell you guys why I think Specna Arms needs your attention. For this overview, I was told that I can show anything and talk about anything I find when it comes to all of these Specna Arms. But from what I've gathered before even opening any of these boxes, is that you cannot make Specna Arms look bad. The community just wouldn't allow it. You could have multiple replicas from them back-to-back fail on you. Not saying that they would, but just imagine that you bought multiple Specna Arms and they all failed. No one would care. Their reputation is just too big. You're not going to make them look bad, and this stems from their great price to quality ratio. They just offer a lot of reliability, variety options, internal features, and included accessories for what you pay for. The Specna Arms fanbase is dedicated, to say the very least. 3 factors go into my thought process when it comes to recommending replicas for beginners: the price to quality ratio, how easy it is to use, and what it comes with. I like to recommend things that you can just take out of the box along with 2 magazines. I want it to be easy for anyone to understand and use, and I want the quality to be completely fair for the price you pay for. I want anyone who puts the effort into how they play to be able to shred anyone on the field, even if they only spend about $250 or less on their first replica. Oh, but I bet they only make basic M4s. I guess you have no idea what Specna Arms does, right? Just take a look at their catalog. Yeah, you can get a basic M4 if you want to, and that's generally what I recommend to beginners, so they can get used to that before they spend more money on something more unique. I want them to get used to Airsoft and the little things you just need to know about before really diving into it. A company gets bonus recommendation points for me if you can stick with only their replicas from the beginner phase all the way past your experienced phase, because they have something for everyone. But let me go ahead and show off what makes these 5 different offerings from Specna Arms so great, where we always begin with the unboxing. Of course, you can find all this and a lot more on Evike.com, so please use our exclusive Evike link in the description down below to directly support the USAirsoft channel. The more people use that link, the more great stuff we get to do. So why not make our link your exclusive Evike link from now on? But moving along, I've got all 5 boxes lined up here. As you can see, I've got a pretty basic M4, a more tactical M4 with a key mod handguard. It's a little outdated, but whatever. We have 2 9mm style PDWs and even an AK. I'm not about to hold your hand to teach you how to use each and every one of these, but this should give you a taste test of some of the stuff that Specna Arms offers. You can even turn over the box for the AK and just see every one of the AKs that they make. But opening up each box and laying out what they all come with will prove a point that a lot of people love to make. Just look at what they all offer. People love that several Specnas come with 2 magazines right out of the box, and so do I. I also like that some of these come with grips. They don't need to throw these little extras into the boxes. I can see other companies charging $20 or $30 for something like this. And the bonus M90 springs are a huge draw, especially for fields or arenas where they might want to use these as their rentals. Almost every one of these have a quick spring change system, so we'll just keep adding extra points onto Specna Arms' reputation. In Europe, I hear that these are used at a lot of different fields as rental offerings, and I'm not surprised when you consider how universal they can be. They're all lightweight, even if they're made of full metal, and they're easy for techs to work on as well. Dummy proofing goes a long way when it comes to airsoft, and when you're just starting off, that can be a huge relief. Now, to break down their subcategories that you can probably see written across their boxes, a Flex Series replica would be like this really basic M4 with an M-LOK handguard. The body is polymer, and so is the rail. These range from around $140 to $170 at the most I've seen. These can be really bare bones, but still have a rotary type hop-up with a 6.03mm type bore inner barrel right from the box. I'd say use a 7.4 LiPo with these due to the lack of a MOSFET. Moving on to the core line of replicas, you can expect a polymer body with a metal rail instead. The rail's material is a neat upgrade, but nothing too worthy of note. But there are a lot of variants in this category, and prices vary from $140 to $200 depending on which variant you're looking for. The core and flex line is what I would suggest as rental guns for fields. Moving up now, the Edge line is where things get interesting, with the inclusion of a Gate X ASR MOSFET and a full metal body and rail. These can be had for $170 to just under $300. And again, you get a lot of options when it comes to variants, so you'll for sure find one that suits you. Then, finally, there's the Edge 2.0, an upgrade to the previous Edge models with a Gate Aster MOSFET instead, a flat hop-up nub, 22 TPA high torque motor, and a solar trigger to work with the Aster MOSFET. These can be had with official trademarks and, yet again, in many different variants. Even this AK is an Edge 2.0, but this X Series PDW is my favorite Edge 2.0 of all of them. If you've been playing for a while like I have, then you've seen a lot of PCC models, so you might be a little spoiled by now. You've seen everything. They just don't wow me anymore. But this one stands apart. You can expect an Edge 2.0 to run anywhere from $220 to around $380. These are the most expensive Specna Arms that I could find, but with all the upgrades and included accessories and magazines, I can understand. With all these different variants and levels of Specna Arms replicas, I would say that Specna Arms is trying to be the best option for beginners and intermediate players. Heck, if you like the X Series PDW that I mentioned earlier, but don't want to spend $360 for one since you're just going to convert it to an HPA build anyway, then just get one of the Flex Series models for under $200. With all the options that Specna Arms offers, this is just kind of an easy thing to recommend. And so far, I've pretty much only echoed what a lot of other owners tend to say about Specna Arms. That they come with a lot of extras, or that the quality for the price is fair. But what I really pay attention to the most is the performance. Well, this is where I took the Edge 2.0 AK and the cheapest fully polymer M4 to the chronograph with an 11.1 LiPo battery to check their power outputs. And I'm really happy to see how consistent the Flex M4 was at 377 feet per second with a 0.2 gram BB and 17 rounds per second with an 11.1 LiPo. That was actually reasonable. But I wouldn't recommend using an 11.1 LiPo with this, since there's no MOSFET to protect your trigger contacts. The Edge 2.0 AK was just as consistent at 377 feet per second, but I noticed a 20 foot per second drop off in full auto. But even then, it was still really consistent, as the rate of fire was bumped up to 19 rounds per second. I even had refs at Mission Airsoft comment about just how consistent it really was at the chronograph. At the range now with the same polymer budget Flex M4, but now with the Edge 2.0 X Series PDW along with it, it was clear that even with the $160 Flex model, that 100 feet shots are not at all a challenge. Any dummy can pull these off. So I pushed back to 150 feet with the same bottle of 0.28 gram BBs, but the wind started to pick up a little bit. It didn't matter anyway, I was still able to make these hits, again, super easily. So for CQB, you should be fine with the Specna Arms. Then I just skipped over to 150 feet with the Edge 2.0 X Series PDW because I knew what to expect. And that's when something malfunctioned. The Gate Aster inside this Edge 2.0 wouldn't allow us to fire besides a couple shots in full auto, and it wouldn't let us enter any kind of selection settings. It just kept chirping and then nothing. So we stripped everything down and pulled out the gearbox, where we were surprised at just how the air compression was. It was actually really good, and the steel spring guide and piston head had ball bearings to do away with any spring torque. We actually got a little caught up on just how nice the Orion gearboxes inside these things were. But then we saw the problem. Specna Arms at some point forgot to add a screw to secure the Aster trigger board down to the gearbox shell. That's what caused the unit to malfunction, as it walked out of place over the course of shooting it off camera. So I quickly told the reps I knew at Specna Arms, and they said that they've seen this happen recently and are right now trying to stomp this problem out in their production line. However, that's why we have a 1-year warranty with all of these Specnas. And obviously, don't pull your gun apart like I did here, or you'll just void your warranty. I know this is where a lot of people would instantly start bashing on a company for something like this, but then again, I haven't seen or heard of anything like this in particular before. And not to toot my own horn or anything, but as soon as some of the Specna Arms staff see this video, they will react to it, even more so than they have already. Whenever I have even the slightest of issues in a review or an overview or any other kind of video, the word gets around the offices pretty quickly. MOSFETs malfunction or ETUs burn out, and sometimes altogether certain parts are left out. But this is a really weird QC issue that I'm happy to hear has been caught already. You just gotta keep in mind that this is Airsoft, and like in any other industry, lemons happen. So if I was any other person, I would have this one sent back, have the optical MOSFET fixed, or more likely replaced if any damage was done that we couldn't see, and I'll get it right back. I would really like to keep using this X Series PDW Edge 2.0, because when I took it to Mission Airsoft, everyone kept on complimenting the thing. They really liked this, even though they were going up against it. It takes G&G ARP9 magazines, and that includes the drum magazines, and it took Classic Army X9 mags. I like that the stock isn't some horrible, uncomfortable mess like a lot of other PDWs, and I like all the options that the Aster gives me when it works. Connor, who's been teching on guns for over a decade, loved pretty much every part on the inside, and mentioned all the little things like how they used the perfect amount of lube. The shimming was decent, and the straight solar trigger was made in collaboration with Gate to make sure it would absolutely work with the MOSFET. And a lot of times manufacturers don't really care about that kind of stuff. With the X Series PDW and any other Edge 2.0, I can switch to fire selector to burst mode or binary, I can turn on pre-cocking, and the MOSFET will stop you from completely using up your LiPo batteries with a protective shutoff feature. I just really like this thing. And even if you don't like this PDW, then why not one of their Edge 2.0 AKs? Magazine compatibility was really nice with it. It used SEMA magazines, my E&L mags, my Arcturus magazines. I even got it to fit my SEMA drum magazine, and that thing can be a little picky. I just really wish this mag still worked, but it finally took itself out after nearly a decade of service. Realistically, I could keep going on, but I think I've covered all the important topics here. Specna Arms, good, is the rough TLDR. All in all, I'm still really happy about Specna Arms. I still recommend Specna to pretty much any beginner, and I'm really happy that they let me talk about all their different products and let me say anything I wanted about them. I think what they really have going for them is variety and fair price points for what's offered. Type bore barrels, attachments and extra magazines, that 1-year warranty I mentioned, and of course Deans in just about every model, especially as more and more fields request Deans with their Specnas before they use them as rentals. And now that my X Series PDW is fixed, I get to really dial in the Aster and do stuff like this. Whew. You can basically bump fire this thing and people think it's full auto. Again, I don't think anything that you can bring up can bring down Specna Arms' reputation. The Europeans alone have sealed them as one of their modern greats. Even if you don't believe me, then check out my YouTube community post about Specna Arms. It's pretty much entirely positive across the board, so read through them if you would like, or check out some other videos from around the world. Never just come to a conclusion because of one of my videos. Do your own research. Get informed and compare and contrast some statements before you make an Airsoft purchase. Just remember to use our exclusive Evike link when you're ready. I'll leave it in the description down below. But that's my piece over Specna Arms and why I like them and why I recommend them. Next, I gotta figure out what I'm going to do with all the Specna Arms guns that I've been sent. I'm guessing I'll just have to give them all away, but we'll see. But until that next video drops from the city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time.
Oh no, step out!
Oh, what the hell
Step
was
out!
that?
That's right, the gloves!
Yes, the gloves.
It's alright.
I wonder if I can hit it with the beacon and set it off.
Oh, hey! Looks like it's clear!
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it?
Tyler, you got eyes?
What?
Is it clear?
It's clear.